It was the kind of night I had always dreaded, but never thought would actually come. I'd been working late again, the hours blending into one another, and when I finally pushed open the door to my house, I expected nothing more than peace and quiet. But what I walked into that night would change everything. Before we dive in, please subscribe. It means the world to us and helps us bring you more amazing stories. My wife Claire was in the shower, but it wasn't the sound of the water that caught my attention. It was the unmistakable sound of voices, low and hushed, but unmistakably intimate. My heart stopped for a moment, my hand still on the doorknob, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I stood frozen in place for what seemed like an eternity. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that maybe it was just a phone call or an old friend from her past. But deep down, I knew something was off. I felt it in the pit of my stomach, a gnawing, sinking feeling that I couldn't shake. And in that moment, the air seemed thicker, heavier, as though the very walls were closing in around me. Without thinking, I dropped my briefcase by the door and quietly made my way toward the bathroom. The door was slightly ajar, and the voices grew louder, clearer. I could hear Claire's voice, soft, almost seductive, and then a man's laugh, a laugh I didn't recognize. My pulse quickened and the blood in my veins felt like it was freezing over. I pushed the door open, my breath caught in my chest, unsure of what I would see. What I did see, however, shattered every ounce of trust one had left. There, in the steamy haze of the shower, my wife wasn't alone. Before I dive into the night that destroyed my world, let me tell you a little bit about Claire. She wasn't just my wife, she was my everything. We had been together for over 6 years, and in all that time, I had never once questioned her loyalty. She was the woman I had always dreamed of, beautiful, intelligent, kind-hearted, and endlessly supportive. We built our life together, one I thought was perfect. I had always worked long hours, but it never bothered me because Claire and I had this understanding. She was patient and supportive, often making sure I had everything I needed when I came home. She'd even leave little notes for me telling me she loved me, wishing me luck, or just reminding me to eat. We were the perfect couple. At least that's what I thought. But in the days leading up to that night, I began to feel a strange distance between us. She seemed distracted, often lost in thought or glued to her phone, but I brushed it off. Maybe it was just the stress of work, or maybe it was my own exhaustion that clouded my judgment. I never imagined it could be something more. The man's laughter echoed in my mind. I tried to convince myself that it wasn't what I thought. Maybe she was just talking to a colleague. Maybe it was all innocent. But as I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't some misunderstanding. Something was happening. Something that I couldn't ignore any longer. My mind raced as I replayed every moment of the past few months. The late nights at work, her sudden need for space, the quiet conversations I wasn't a part of. The signs had been there, I just hadn't seen them. Or maybe I didn't want to. I opened the door to the bathroom and what I saw was beyond what I could have ever imagined. Claire stood there, her back to me, drenched in water, her hair sticking to her skin, and standing next to her was a man, someone I had never seen before. My mind went blank for a second as I tried to process the scene in front of me. Claire turned, her face flushed, but the shock on her face quickly turned to guilt. Before I could speak, the man stepped forward, his eyes wide with fear. I didn't know she was married," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I swear I didn't mean for it to." "You didn't mean for it to what?" I cut him off, my voice a mix of rage and disbelief. "For this to happen," he muttered. Claire's eyes welled up with tears as she tried to reach for me, but I stepped back, holding my ground. "No, don't touch me," I said coldly. "I need to hear the truth now." Claire's face turned pale, her lips trembling. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The silence in the room was deafening. I couldn't look at her anymore. I turned on my heel, walking out of the bathroom, out of the house, and into the cold night air. The weight of it all was too much. I had been betrayed, and I couldn't escape the suffocating reality of it. In the days that followed, I struggled to make sense of everything. The betrayal ate at me, gnawing away at my heart and mind. Claire tried to reach out, but I couldn't find the words to speak to her. She had broken something that could never be fixed, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart. The man who had been in the shower with her, he was a coworker, someone she had been working with on a project. She later confessed they had grown close over the past few months, and it had turned into something more. Something I couldn't even begin to comprehend. But what hurt the most wasn't the affair itself. It was the lies, the deceit, the way she had acted as if nothing was wrong while secretly betraying everything we had built together. Claire begged for forgiveness, said she was sorry, promised she would change. But how could I trust her again? How could I look at the woman I had once loved and not see the face of a stranger? In the end, I realized that I couldn't forgive her, not yet. Not with the memories of that night haunting me. I made the painful decision to leave her, to walk away from the life we had built, even though it tore me apart. A month had passed since the night that changed everything. The silence between Claire and me had grown louder with each passing day. I had moved out, but the memories of her still lingered in every corner of my mind. One day, as I sat in my apartment reflecting on everything that had happened, I received a message from Claire. She begged me to meet her, to talk things through, to give her one more chance. But I couldn't bring myself to reply. I knew deep down that the person I once knew, Claire, my wife, was gone. What remained was just a shadow, a memory of someone I had loved, but who had betrayed me beyond repair. And so I made my decision. It was time to move forward. But one thing was certain, I would never forget that night. And neither would Claire. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about the painful journey of discovering the truth, no matter how hard it is to face. It's about the moments that break you and the strength you find in picking up the pieces. If you've ever been in a situation where trust was shattered, where someone you love turned their back on you, you know how it feels. You know the pain, the heartbreak, the emptiness that comes from being lied to, being betrayed. If you've ever experienced something like this, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below and let me know how you moved on, how you found strength in the midst of pain. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and the lessons learned along the way. Thank you for watching. Stay strong and remember, you are never alone in your journey.